Somewhere along the way, we forgot who we are. We forgot that human beings were never designed to live apart from one another. We were never wired for isolation. We were never built to survive alone. From the earliest moments of history, humanity was shaped not by individual strength, but by collective support. Tribes became families. Families became communities. Communities became nations. And at the very core of all of it was a simple truth. We need each other. Connection is not optional for us. It's not a luxury or a bonus for when life is convenient. It's essential. It's survival. No newborn survives without someone holding them. No child grows without someone teaching them. No adult thrives without someone believing in them. We are relational creatures. We are emotional creatures. And what sets us apart is not just our intelligence, it is our capacity for empathy, our need for belonging, and our drive for togetherness. But we live in a world that has slowly convinced us of the opposite. We have bought into the myth of self-sufficiency. We applaud independence as the highest virtue. We tell people to stand on their own. We admire the person who says, "I don't need anyone." And yet, beneath all of that is a growing loneliness that we dare not admit. We are more connected digitally and more disconnected emotionally than we have ever been before. Our devices bring us together while our hearts drift apart. We have followers but not friends. We have contacts but no community. We know the headlines but not the heartache of our neighbors. And when tragedy strikes, when suffering happens, when injustice rises, we watch from a distance, we observe, we comment, but often we do not engage. Because isolation has become comfortable, distance has become safe. But this was never the way we were supposed to live. Humanity was built on shared burdens. It was built on lifting one another. It was built on the idea that I am because we are. When one person suffers, we all feel it. When one community is in pain, we are called to respond. When one nation is hurting, the world should not look away. This is not weakness. This is not charity. This is not about being nice for the sake of a good reputation. This is survival. It is how we endure. It is how we rise. In every story of courage, in every movement of justice, in every revolution of change, connection has always been the spark. People coming together, people standing shoulder to shoulder, people looking one another in the eye and saying, "You are not alone." We were not built for division. We were not built for silence in the face of suffering. We were not built to draw lines in the sand and build walls around our compassion. The human spirit is expansive. The human heart is wired for love, beyond borders, beyond politics, beyond race, beyond religion. But connection comes with responsibility. It asks us to be present. It demands that we listen. It requires us to be uncomfortable sometimes. Because when we truly see another person, when we allow their pain to touch us, we cannot stay the same. It becomes personal. When a mother in Palestine is crying because her child has no safe place to sleep, that is not a distant headline. That is a human being who belongs to us. When a father in Gaza is praying for the safety of his family, that is not just his struggle, that is our struggle. Because if we were standing in their shoes, would we not want someone to care? Would we not want someone to act? Connection breaks down the illusion of separation. It reminds us that the world is not divided into us and them. There is only us. There is only humanity. The borders we draw on maps are not the borders we feel in our hearts. The great tragedy of our time is not that we face problems, it's that we face them alone. But we can remember, we can return. We can wake up to the reality that was always there. We belong to each other. Every culture, every language, every tradition has always carried this truth at its core. Love your neighbor, protect the vulnerable, lift the weary, stand for the oppressed. We can no longer afford to admire these ideas from a distance. They must become action. They must become practice. They must become a daily choice. We need to stop measuring our lives by what we consume and start measuring them by what we contribute. We need to stop asking, what do I get? And start asking, what can I give? Because the legacy of humanity has never been in the things we built. It has always been in the people we loved. Connection is how we heal. Connection is how we move forward. Connection is how we remember who we are, not isolated, independent beings floating through life, but human souls tied together by invisible threads of hope, compassion, and responsibility. We need each other. We always have. We always will. We live in a world that has become frighteningly good at looking away. We scroll past images of suffering. We skip the stories that feel too heavy. We change the channel when the truth becomes uncomfortable. Somewhere deep down, we have convinced ourselves that the pain of others is distant, that it belongs to someone else, that it's tragic but not ours to carry. But the greatest illusion of modern life is the idea that we can detach ourselves from the suffering of others and still remain fully human. The truth is far more confronting. Their pain is our wake-up call. Every story of injustice is not a distant tragedy. It is a mirror. It reflects who we are. It reveals the state of our compassion. It challenges the boundaries we've built around our empathy. It asks us silently but powerfully, are we awake? Are we paying attention? Are we willing to care even when it's hard? We do not get to choose whether suffering happens in the world. It does. But we do get to choose our response. And more often than not, our response is shaped not by what we see, but by what we choose to feel. It's easy to feel compassion when the person suffering looks like us, speaks like us, lives near us. It's easy to care when the story fits our version of the world. But real humanity begins when we care for people we may never meet, people we don't understand, people whose only connection to us is that they too are human. Somewhere in Palestine there are mothers rocking their babies to sleep with fear in their hearts, not knowing if tomorrow will come safely. Somewhere in Gaza there are fathers who have lost everything but their dignity, standing in the rubble of what used to be their homes. Somewhere in refugee camps there are children who have learned what loss means before they have even learned how to write their names. And we tell ourselves that their story is not ours, but it is. It always has been, because if the tables were turned, if we were the ones living through war, through displacement, through fear, wouldn't we want the world to see us? Wouldn't we want the world to care? Empathy is not an emotion for the weak. It is not something we switch on for people who deserve it and switch off for people who don't. Empathy is a discipline. Empathy is a commitment. Empathy is the decision to see beyond ourselves, beyond our comfort zones, beyond our borders. The pain of others is not an interruption to our lives. It is the very thing that can wake us up to what matters most. It strips away our distractions. It reminds us that life is fragile, that peace is precious, that justice is not inevitable. It is created, built, and defended by those who refuse to stay silent. We live in a world where it is easier than ever to turn away. The news cycle is fast. The algorithms feed us what we already believe. The noise of entertainment drowns out the quiet call of conscience. But turning away comes at a cost. We lose something every time we look without feeling. We lose something every time we see without acting. And what we lose is not just our connection to others, it is our own humanity. History is full of moments where people said, "This is not my problem," only to wake up too late and realize it was. The suffering of others is never contained, It spills over, it ripples out. Injustice anywhere threatens peace everywhere. Every act of cruelty permitted, every injustice ignored, every voice silenced. It builds a world that none of us were meant to live in. We were born to respond. We were born to carry each other. We were born to see someone else's pain and feel it as if it were our own. Not because we are heroes, not because we are saviors, but because we are human. Somewhere right now, someone is waiting for the world to see them, waiting for someone to say, "You matter," waiting for someone to stand beside them, even from across the world, waiting for someone to tell their story, not as a number, not as a statistic, but as a life that deserves to be honored. That someone could have been us. The measure of our humanity is not how well we take care of people who look like us, think like us, or live next to us. The measure of our humanity is how we show up for those who can give us nothing in return except the chance to be fully human. Their pain is not distant, their story is not separate, their struggle is not irrelevant. It is the thread that ties us all together. It is the reminder that our world will only heal when we stop seeing suffering as someone else's problem and start seeing it as our shared responsibility. This is the wake-up call of our time, not to pity, not to observe, but to respond, to show up, to care even when it hurts. Because if we don't, we risk building a future where apathy is normal, where silence is expected, where looking away is the standard. And we were made for something far greater than that. Every generation is faced with the question, what kind of ancestors will we be? Will we be remembered as the ones who saw the warning signs and acted, or the ones who looked the other way until it was too late? The truth is, we are not living in ordinary times. We are standing at a crossroads where silence is complicity, where indifference is dangerous, and where the cost of doing nothing has never been higher. The future is not a distant concept waiting for someone else to shape it. It is built by the decisions we make today, by the courage we show today, and by the responsibility we accept today. We cannot afford to keep waiting for someone else to lead. Leadership is no longer about a title or a position. It's about behavior. It's about standing up when it's uncomfortable. It's about speaking truth when it's unpopular. It's about caring when everyone else tells you to mind your own business. True leadership is not measured in power, it's measured in service. It's measured in how willing we are to be the voice for the voiceless, to stand in the gap for those who cannot stand for themselves. Somewhere along the way, we began outsourcing our humanity. We thought governments would fix what's broken. We thought organizations would lead the fight for justice. We thought someone else, anyone else, would take care of the problem. But what we forgot is that change has always started with ordinary people who decided to do extraordinary things. People like us, people who chose courage over comfort, people who chose responsibility over convenience. Responsibility is not about guilt, it's about power. It's about owning the fact that we are not helpless, we are not powerless. Every act of kindness, every word of truth, every step toward justice matters. And these things do not require permission, they require intention. We were not born to be bystanders. We were not created to live isolated, detached, self-centered lives while the world around us burns. We are wired for connection. We are built for belonging. And that belonging extends beyond our family, beyond our friends, beyond our borders. It stretches to every human being whose life intersects with ours, even if only through a story, a headline, a whisper of suffering. When we look at the world today, the wars, the oppression, the violence, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel small. But the real danger is not in feeling small. It's in believing that small actions don't matter. They do. Every great movement in history was born from small acts of courage, repeated over and over until the world could no longer ignore them. The future will not remember how safe we played it. The future will not honor how comfortable we were. The future will ask, when you saw injustice, what did you do? When you heard the cries of the suffering, how did you respond? When you realized that silence protected the oppressor, did you still choose to stay silent? Responsibility is not something we inherit by chance. It's something we choose by conviction. It is a conscious decision to care deeply, to act boldly, and to love fiercely. It is the daily choice to live with our eyes open, our hearts engaged, and our voices ready. Leadership in this age is not about fixing everything overnight. It's not about saving the world in one grand gesture. It's about showing up consistently, authentically, correctly. It's about doing what we can, where we are, with what we have. And this matters now more than ever because there are people whose lives hang in the balance of our choices. There are children growing up in war zones who wonder if the world even knows they exist. There are families torn apart by violence who wonder if anyone will ever tell their story. There are communities crushed by injustice who wonder if their suffering will be met with silence or solidarity. The world does not need more spectators. The world needs more participants. People willing to step into the discomfort, people willing to risk their reputation for what's right, people willing to stand on the side of humanity even when it costs them something. And here's what's remarkable. When we take responsibility, when we lead with courage, we don't just change the world outside us, we change the world within us. We become more fully alive, we become more connected, we become more human. Every single person has influence. Every single person has a platform. Whether it's a classroom, a kitchen table, a social media feed, or a street corner. The question is not whether we have influence. The question is how we will use it. Will we use it to build walls of indifference? Or will we use it to build bridges of compassion? This is not about being perfect. This is not about having all the answers. This is about showing up messy, real, and willing. This is about refusing to be paralyzed by fear or apathy. This is about choosing to be part of the solution, even when the problem feels overwhelming. The world will always tell us it's easier to stay quiet. The world will always whisper that it's not our problem. But history tells a different story. History tells us that progress belongs to those who refuse to wait for someone else. It belongs to those who understand that responsibility is not a burden. It's a privilege. It's an opportunity to shape the future. It's an invitation to leave behind a legacy worth remembering. We have reached a point in human history where our differences have been magnified beyond reason. We have become so obsessed with labels, boundaries, and categories that we've forgotten the very thing that binds us together, our shared humanity. We are not just citizens of countries. We are not just members of religions. We are not just carriers of skin color, languages, and traditions. Before all of those things, we are human beings, and that reality, that truth, carries a responsibility with it that is far greater than any flag we wave or any border we defend. Somewhere along the way, we were taught to fear what is different. We were taught to build walls, to create distance, to separate ourselves from the other. We were told that safety was found in isolation and sameness. But if we look closely, if we step back and truly observe, we see that the greatest strength of humanity has always come from connection, not division. Our most profound breakthroughs, our most beautiful moments of growth happened when we reached across the lines that were supposed to keep us apart. And yet today, the world feels fragmented. People are retreating into their echo chambers, surrounding themselves with only those who look like them, think like them, believe like them. But this is not how we were meant to live. We were not designed to survive in silos of sameness. Diversity is not our weakness, it's our strength. Our ability to understand and appreciate differences is what allows us to innovate, to create, to empathize. We need to wake up to this truth. We need to wake up to the reality that we are not here to dominate one another. We are not here to conquer or outcompete at the expense of human dignity. We are here to coexist, to collaborate, to build something far greater than what we could ever build alone. The world is crying out for unity, not uniformity. Unity does not mean we all become the same. It means we learn to value the beauty of our differences while standing together for what matters most. It means we move beyond tolerance, because tolerance is passive. Tolerance says, I'll put up with you, but love says, I'll stand with you. Compassion says, your struggle is my struggle. Solidarity says, we rise or fall together. Look at nature. Every ecosystem thrives on diversity. Forests, oceans, and deserts all depend on the variety of life within them. Remove one piece, and the whole system is at risk. Humanity is no different. When we allow hate to poison one part of the world, when we allow injustice to thrive in one community, it eventually impacts us all. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Not because it sounds poetic, but because it's deeply true. We cannot turn a blind eye to suffering simply because it is happening over there. There is no over there. There is only here. This planet is smaller than we think. Technology has connected us more than ever before, yet empathy has lagged behind. It's time for empathy to catch up. It's time for compassion to cross borders. It's time to see every human face, regardless of language, color, or religion, and recognize it for what it is, a reflection of ourselves. We need to teach our children that their worth is not determined by their passport. We need to remind each other that no life is more valuable than another based on where they were born. We need to unlearn the stories of separation we've been handed and rewrite them with stories of connection. This is not idealism. This is survival. The future of our species depends on our ability to cooperate, not compete to the point of destruction. Climate change does not care about borders. Pandemics do not stop at checkpoints. War displaces families, regardless of their nationality. The forces that threaten us are bigger than any one country or people group. That means our response has to be bigger too. But how do we get there? How do we move from this culture of division to a culture of unity? It starts small. It starts local. It starts personal. It starts with a conversation across the table. It starts with curiosity instead of judgment. It starts with listening to understand, not listening to respond. It starts with asking, what is life like for you? What do you dream of? What do you fear? What do you hope for your children? When we ask these questions, we realize how much we have in common. The specifics may differ, the languages, the customs, the food, the stories, but the heart is the same. We all want to be seen. We all want to be safe. We all want to be loved. And when we remember that simple truth, it becomes impossible to dehumanize someone else. The world will not change because of grand speeches or distant promises. The world will change because ordinary people, people like you and me, choose every day to reject hate and choose love. People who choose to build bridges where there were once walls. People who choose to extend a hand instead of turning their back. People who choose to lead not with fear, but with hope. Hope is not naive. Hope is defiant. Hope says, even though the world looks dark, I will not add to the darkness. Hope says, even though there is suffering, I will not turn away. Hope says, even though I am only one person, I am not powerless. Every act of kindness is a rebellion against the forces of division. Every moment of empathy is a declaration of our shared humanity. We were never meant to walk this road alone. We were never meant to build walls higher and higher until we could no longer see the humanity on the other side. We were meant to build something together, something lasting, something beautiful, something that future generations will look at and say, they didn't give up on each other. They didn't let the world fall apart because of their differences. They remembered who they were. They remembered they were one. True leadership is not about control. It's not about titles, positions, or authority over others. True leadership is about service. It's about responsibility. It's about showing up for people when they need you most, not for your benefit, but for theirs. And right now, humanity doesn't need more people seeking power. It needs people seeking to serve. It needs leaders who understand that influence is earned through trust, not forced through fear. It needs leaders who realize that the ultimate measure of their leadership is not in how many people follow them, but in how many people they lift up along the way. For too long, we have celebrated the wrong things in leaders. We have admired strength without compassion, decisiveness without wisdom, power without humility. We have created systems that reward selfishness over selflessness, ambition over integrity, profit over people, and we wonder why the world feels broken. We wonder why people feel lost, disconnected, cynical. The truth is, people are not just hungry for direction. They are starving for authenticity. They are desperate for leaders who tell the truth even when it's hard. Leaders who admit they don't have all the answers. Leaders who listen more than they speak. Leaders who show their humanity, not hide from it. Leadership is not about being perfect. In fact, the greatest leaders are often the ones who have struggled the most. They know what it means to be vulnerable. They know what it feels like to fail, to lose, to hurt. But instead of using their pain to distance themselves from others, they use it to connect. They turn their scars into bridges. They turn their wounds into wisdom. They lead not from above, but from alongside. And this is what we need now more than ever. Leaders who walk with people, not ahead of them. Leaders who don't stand on stages just to be seen, but who kneel in the dirt to help those who have fallen. Leaders who believe their job is not to be served, but to serve. The kind of leadership that says, I see you, I hear you, I am with you. But serving others is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of ego. It requires asking yourself difficult questions every day. Am I doing this for me or for them? Am I seeking credit, or am I creating space for others to shine? Am I leading with love or leading with fear? Because people can feel the difference. People know when they are being used. People know when they are being manipulated, but they also know when they are being valued. They know when they are safe. They know when they matter. Leadership is about creating that safety. It's about creating environments where people feel they belong, where people feel they are part of something bigger than themselves, where people know that their voice counts, that their contribution matters. And you don't have to be a CEO or a president or a public figure to do that. Every one of us is a leader in some way. We lead in our families. We lead in our friendships. We lead in our communities. The question is not whether we are leaders. The question is, what kind of leaders are we choosing to be? Are we leading with generosity or scarcity? Are we lifting others up or holding them down? Are we building walls or building bridges? Are we creating connection or sowing division? True leadership always chooses connection. It always chooses people over pride. It always chooses long-term impact over short-term gain. And here's the thing, leadership is not glamorous. It's not about the spotlight. It's about the quiet moments that nobody sees. It's about the conversations behind closed doors. It's about the decisions that cost you something. It's about staying late to listen. It's about showing up early to prepare. It's about being there when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it's costly. That's where real leadership lives, not in the speeches or the accolades, but in the unseen choices you make every single day. And when we lead this way, when we lead from service, from empathy, from courage, something incredible happens. Trust is built, loyalty is earned, communities are strengthened, people rise. They rise because someone believed in them. They rise because someone created a space where they could grow. They rise because someone showed them what it looks like to lead with heart. This is what our world needs now. Not louder voices, but braver hearts. Not bigger platforms, but deeper relationships. Not more control, but more care. The kind of care that says, your story matters, your life matters, your dreams matter, and I'm here to help you build them, not for my glory, but for your good. Because the legacy of a leader is not measured in wealth or status. It's measured in lives touched, in hearts changed, in futures shaped. It's measured in how you made people feel. Did they feel seen? Did they feel heard? Did they feel loved? That is the mark of true leadership. That is the calling of every human being who dares to lead with purpose, with humility, with love.